All right, guys, welcome to episode 2. This week we're going to talk about some more food plots. What we're doing in the food plots, we're sitting in this is a big soybean field right here. It's a forage soybean out of Eagle brand. I think we talked about it earlier, but really great soybeans. Zach's in the background. He's doing a little weed wiping, trying to get rid of some of the fescue and stuff in the middle of the fields that so bear with the noise. Welcome. Glad that you made it for round 2. You ought to be able to keep up with this. So if you want to continue watching this every Friday morning at 8 o'clock, we're going to have a new episode. But if you subscribe to this, you hit the bottom of it. It says subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe to it, and then hit the little bell next to it, and it will automatically notify you every time we get an update. Last week we did episode 1, section B. And so we had a little update on another fawn that was born. So this week I'm sure we'll have several of those with different things we're doing with the planning and everything. So we might have B, C, D, and E throughout the week, but every Friday morning at 8 o'clock we're going to go ahead and do this. Bear with us. We'll show you a little bit of planning, a little bit of spraying, a little bit of weed control. Just a normal week at Oak Creek. This is Nick. He is planting with the big 15-foot batwing. It was right before a rain, so it wasn't breaking up the ground real good. So here we had to go over it a couple different times, and finally, eventually, we gave up and pulled the batwings up. But that's him disking it with the batwings up, add a little bit more weight, so we were able to get it to cut a little bit deeper. While we were cutting deeper, we found a big old rock. So I just happened to have the high left close and pushed this big old rock out of the field. I don't know how long it had been there, but it was a big sucker. So made it a little bit easier on the disc. Nick making another round there with the bat wings all pulled up, and trying to cut it a little bit deeper. So as you can see, it's starting to cut a little bit deeper and do a little bit better job. So after we did that, we were able to go ahead and start planting. So, and that's Shane came back in. He's using the no-till drill, the tide drill, and planting our beans. That's that forage bean that we're going to try to go ahead and hay and put up for winter, and try to mix that a little bit of that in with our fodder. And okay, we are in Cody 2 right now, and this field's real rocky. So it's really hard to go in and disc and do a lot of work to this field. So we're coming up, looking at it. Shane's here, and he's going to do the planting today. But just making sure it's not too wet. We just had a 2.5-inch rain, so I think we're good. What do y'all think? I think we'll be able to go. It's really good to have a no-till drill, a little moisture in the ground whenever you do a no-till drill. But this field has been in clover for 6 or 7 years. 6-7 years. So what we're going to do is, we've already sprayed the weeds, and so it's kind of knocked the weeds back. But we're going to come back in and go ahead and do the no-till drill on the beans. That'll give them a chance, and we'll go back and spray again on top of the Roundup on top of it. Clover is just about to get to where Roundup doesn't really bother it a lot. So we'll have a bean clover mixture. It'll be a light, dense mat of beans that we're still let the clover grow up. That's what our goal is, and it's to kind of provide that shade to kind of help kill out the weeds. The beans will, and that way the clover will kind of get reestablished on its own, and then we'll go ahead and come back in here this fall, and we'll fertilize and replant the clover to help it kind of get going again and get a good new stand of clover coming out. And Shane, you do this with wheat in the fall. Yeah, we'll plant wheat, and that'll give the deer, they'll start eating that wheat and kind of leave that clover alone. Yep. And it just gives it a little bit of extra head start and helping killing the weeds, keeping them under control. Otherwise, we just have to let this field sit dormant all summer, and then we come back in and try to do it. But it just gives the deer a little bit something to eat. We're not trying to harvest it. We're not trying to make 20 bushels an acre. We're just planting it for the deer. So, got any good? No. Seems to work really well. So, just one more management tool we use. As you can see, this field, Shane has already done some edge feathering. You can see some stuff in. That's really good for your quail, really good for your turkey population. It just allows those, in your fawn population, gives them somewhere to hide. But all part of it. So y'all stay tuned, and we'll show Shane doing a little planting and see the finished product. This is Shane. He's doing a little preventive maintenance on the tide drill. Guys, it's very important to keep your machinery up and going.
Getting ready to go plant some eagle beans. They always do good for us. Round up ready beans so we can keep the weeds under control. Add a little bit of inoculant. Check, make sure the beans are getting in the ground plenty deep. Looks like they are. I think we're good to go.
Okay, guys, we got a lot of response back from the last, the very first episode. So we're going to start a question and answer deal. So if you've got a question, go to our Facebook page or YouTube or wherever you can make a comment. Email me. You can even email me and ask me your question that you'd like to know. Had a lot, like I said, I had a lot of questions about the fawns, about a breeding operation. Remember, that breeding operation is a totally different operation than our hunting operation. Those deer are born in that breeding operation. The buck fawns, once they're weaned from their mamas at 6 months old or whatever, they're released out into the preserve. The cull mamas, cull doe out in that breeding operation, they're also, once we've got all the genetics and we're through with their genetics, we'll release them and their fawn out into the preserve, and that's how we keep producing these world record deer. Even our cull doe in our breeding operation are producing world record deer out in our preserve. So don't get those two mixed up. The preserve, the deer are out here, they're wild, they're born and raised, or they've been in here for 3-4 years, so they've gotten wild. Once you turn a deer loose within a week, man, they're crazy. Sometimes more so than the deer that are born and raised out there. So they know our habits and everything. But getting back to the question answer, David Chapman from Massachusetts, he asked me, he said, hey Donald, how do you protect your fawns from coyotes and bobcat and all the predators? We, in our breeding operation, it's really easy. We've got a fence, and it's a double fence. We've got a 2 8-foot fence about 15 feet apart, and on that outside fence we have a double row of electric wire that shocks anything that comes near them. So that keeps them out, that keeps those animals safe. Once we turn them out in the preserve, it is just hang tight. So Zach's coming with the sprayer, so we got a little background noise, so bear with us. We're gonna let Zach get out of here a little ways. Back to my question, I don't exactly, out in the preserve, once we release those deer, or the deer that are naturally born and raised out here, they're on their own. We try to control the predators as much as possible. We set snares, we set traps, we try to catch all the coyotes and the possum and the coon and the skunk and the you know, whatever. I know they don't always mess with your deer, but I tell you, predator control is very important for your turkey, your quail. You would not believe how bad, how detrimental a skunk is to your turkey population. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I've seen it over and over here. When we really go after the skunks and really go after the possum, coon, skunk, those three really are major. Golly, your turkey population goes through the roof. You're starting hearing quail everywhere. So very important. Predator control is very important on the ranch, and we stay on top of that. It's you know, I'm not so sure it's not one of the most important things we do. Any way you can kill those predators, you better get them killed. Somebody is always checking our fence, just about on a daily basis, filling holes. If you see where a coyote's dug in, we'll put a trap there, or we'll fill that hole back up where he has to go to another hole where there's a trap. It's a full-time job to keep up with that fence. Trees falling, what have you. We're on top of it because it's our livelihood. We don't want these animals getting out. If an animal gets out, it costs us money. So we stay on top of it and really put a lot of effort into it. Guys, I want to thank you for joining us this week. Hopefully we didn't bore you too much. Talked a little bit about planting. There is going to be an episode B because we didn't get all the planting in. We're going to talk about some sunflowers and some different things that we plant around here for the different wildlife, not necessarily the deer, turkey, birds, squirrel, rabbits, quail, you know, but it's all part of the whole system. But make sure you click on the bottom right here and subscribe, click on that, and then hit the little bell, and that will give you those updates as we come in throughout the week, and you won't miss a thing. But next week we're going to talk about fences, how we're upkeeping the fence, how we're setting snares, how we're setting traps, trying to catch some of these predators from coming in and out of the preserve, what we do to you know, keep trees from growing up in. So a little bit different stuff. If you have any questions about any of the stuff we're doing on the fencing, or anything you'd like to see us do on next week's episode about the fencing and repair work, please ask. That way we can do a portion of that on the question and answers. So we'd love to have some questions. If you have any questions about this week's show, ask them then, and we'll try to answer those as well. So look forward to seeing y'all next week. Make sure you join us.